Do you think that maybe then the long dollar trade is crowded? Because right now what we're seeing is actually a push toward the rest of the world, get your house in order.
Yeah, so I would say right now the portfolio we're recommending people is very contrarian, but we still like, despite all the friction that we see with China, despite China as national security threat #1, FXI and KWEB, I think, are going to continue to do well. They're heavily under-owned. China's trying to do its own thing. Trump seems to back off on them periodically. I think that could explode higher. I like European stocks, and I do like the chip makers in the U.S., but I like the ones that can be domestic chip makers. I think you're seeing more and more of this. We've been talking about it since day one of Trump. He wants a domestic chip industry. We need to be able to make chips. That's going to be part of national security. I think that's just starting to take off, and we've seen some, single stock reactions this week that I think are just the beginning of what can come.
Everything you're saying to me, I keep thinking Trump is very transactional. This nuance, this idea of pulling troops out of Germany, but not to pull them out of Europe, but put them in the Baltics. Isn't that what the Europeans are? Going back to Jonathan's point, Trump yesterday saying he'd like to see Putin back at the table to the G8. Well, Russia was kicked out because of annexation, illegal annexation of Crimea. At the same time, Germany was still willing to build Nord Stream 2 years later.
Yeah, and one thing I would say, I think one thing Europe's getting a little bit ahead of itself. I don't think Russia's coming back to deliver cheap gas to Germany anytime soon. I think Russia's really moved on. They're like, well, China's going to be a better customer, India's going to be a better customer. They're both going to be buying fossil fuels for 50 years in the future. Germany wakes up every day saying we're not going to use fossil fuels ever again, and then uses fossil fuels. So I don't think you're going to see this, return to what it was. That switch has been broken. It's not coming back. I think the U.S. has a better chance of establishing relationships with this. And the other thing I think you pointed out earlier is, tariffs. Trump is going to be carrot and stick with everyone. Here's what you get if you behave nicely. Here's what and that may work. It may backfire. That's going to be the big question.